Okay everyone, welcome back. In this video we're actually just going to go over a couple of the ways that we can use these numbered data types now in a C++ program using mathematical operators like addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication. I didn't really do a whole lot of prep for this video just because I'm going to make it super short. And we're going to have an entire separate video on the mathematical operators in C++ later on. I literally just want to make this video so you guys can see what exactly we can do with some of these data types. So if you remember from the first video we had on integrals, I used that example of buying 3 apples from a store and walking out of the store with 3 apples. And so let's imagine now that we bought those 3 apples and we ate one for lunch one day. Now we only have 2 apples remaining. So how could we go about representing that in a C++ program? So let's go ahead and go here below the variables from the earlier episodes. And let's put int. We'll say apples. So we're making our variable name is apples of type int, and we'll set that equal to 3, representing we have 3 apples. Let's make another line down here then where we'll set apples then equal to, and we're gonna have, remember this is our assignment operator here, so we're assigning, even though we've initialized our apples variable to 3, now we're going to assign it to a different value down here. What we're actually going to do is to the right of this assignment operator now, we're actually going to create an expression, like a mathematical expression that will calculate out to a value. And we're actually going to be able to reference apples itself. So this apples variable, keep this in mind, this apples variable is still the same one that we created up here. It's still the same exact one. But we can reference itself in an equation. So we're going to say apples equals apples minus 1. So here's the 1 is just basically to represent the apple we ate for lunch someday. So now, after this statement, we would expect that in apples now, we have 2 stored. So let's go to our print statement here. Let's print that out and let's double check and see if we're correct. There we go, we get 2. So you can see that this was a subtraction operator, so we're really just doing a mathematical operation now, and so instead of just assigning our variable to a hard-coded value, basically, like a 3, a self-evident value, now we can use these expressions or mathematical equations to assign it a value. And if we had instead, let's say a friend gave us an apple instead of us eating one, we could just replace this with the addition operator. So now we're just adding 1 to this value, basically. We're adding 1 to this apple's value. So now we would expect 4 to print out to the screen. And voila, we have 4. So you just saw the subtraction and the addition operator there. I'm actually going to copy these, and I'm going to paste the subtraction one down here below. So you can see that then the addition operator obviously is adding 1, the subtraction operator is subtracting 1. Now, if we ran these two back to back like I had them lined up right now, we would be basically adding 1 to apples, which would give us 4, and then we'd just be subtracting 1 right away, so we would be back to 3. So we could expect 3 to be now in this print statement. And there we go, we have 3. Now I know I'm putting the value, the variable itself in the equation. We don't have to have the variable in there. We could just do something like, we could set it to 2 hard-coded numbers. So we just have 3 and 1. And same down here, we could do, I don't know, 5 and 1. So after this line here, we would have 4. And after this line here, since we're not referencing apples itself anymore, we're just literally setting it to the result of this equation here, which is 5 minus 1. We would also have 4. So if I get rid of this one for a second, and I run this, you can see we have 4, because 3 plus 1 is equal to 4, and that's what we store in our apples variable now. Clicked the wrong one there. And likewise, if I paste this back in, and we get rid of this, we also have 4 here. So just two different ways here to arrive at the same value. Now, 2 other mathematical operators in C++ that are available are division and multiplication, which if you've taken any basic math class or algebra or whatever, you've seen those before. So, and I know that in most math books, division is usually represented by like the two dots in the line, and then multiplication is usually represented by like an X. Well, in C++ and many programming languages, we actually use the / to represent division, and then we use the asterisk symbol to represent multiplication. So I'm going to get rid of this line here for a second. And so let's set apples now here equal to, we'll say apples equals 3 times 3. So we would expect this to be 9. So let's print this real quick. And there we go, we have 9. Likewise, if we had done 3 divided by 3, we would expect this to equal 1. There we go, we have 1. And finally here, since we're initializing apples to 3, if we were to throw our apples variable back in here, this would still equal 1, because here we're setting the value of apples now equal to the value of itself, which is 3, divided by 3. So if we run this, we get 1. Likewise, if we multiply it, we get 9, because 3 times 3 equals 9. And if we change the value, the initial value of apples, it would change along with this. Now if we set apples equal to 5 initially, this would now equal 15. If we run it, 15. And if we really wanted to, we could even come in here and we could do apples equals apples times apples. So basically it would be now 5 times 5, because we're just referencing apples twice. So we're doing 5 times 5, because these will both result to 5. That's what's stored in these variables. So now we would expect 25. 5 times 5 equals 25, and there we go, 25. So at this point, if you understand the basic concept of what we can do with these numbers, totally feel free to stop watching the video. I am just going to do one more example, maybe for people that would like another one. So this time, let's say that we have a savings account at a bank. In that savings account, we have, we'll just say $1,000 in that savings account. Get rid of our apples variable here since we no longer have it. So we've made a variable savings of type int. We set it to $1,000, or just 1,000 really. And let's say that we want to go on a vacation. So we'll name this vacation cost. We'll say $100. That's pretty cheap for a vacation. So I'm sure we're not being too bougie here. And let's say we also have, I don't know, let's say we have to pay taxes. And let's say taxes this year are $100, which would be amazing if that were the case. But so what ultimate goal here now is we want to find out, and I'm going to put it here. We want to find out how much money do we have left in our savings. And we want to find this question out after we've subtracted vacation cost and taxes. And so what we can do now is we can come down here and we can make a statement here that says savings equals, and we'll set it equal to savings minus, first we'll take away the vacation cost. We can say minus the vacation cost. So this expression here is going to assign our savings variable to the resulting value of taking our savings, which is 1,000, minus the vacation cost, which is 100. And that's what we'll end up having in savings then. So if we just printed out this line here, we should get 900. 1,000 minus 100. There we go, 900. Now that's just the cost of, or that's just the amount we have left after we subtract the vacation cost. So we can come in here again and say savings equals savings minus our taxes for the year. So now if we had, if this resulted in 900, this now is going to result in 800, because we're just taking away taxes now from that 900, and taxes is also 100. So we would expect savings now to only have 800. And boom, there we go. So as we kind of move down the line here, we're saving the current value of savings in this savings variable. And that's essentially why we have variables. It's to you know, if you need to keep a running tab on something like this, where you have a value that you want to store in memory, that you need to refer to later on, um, then variables are exactly how we do that. They're a way for us to represent values that we might need to update in the future, um, just like an example here with a savings account at a bank. So in general, just think of variables as a way that we can reference values later on in a program. It's a way that we can store a value and reference it and update it later on in a program as we need. So that's about it for this video. I am going to have a separate video later on literally on variables and why we need variables and why we use them and how we can use them. And I will also have another video on all the mathematical operators, because in this video I've only shown you addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. C++ actually has more than that. We have like modulo and then incremental and then decrementing operator. So we'll get to all those later on in a separate video. But for now, I'm going to wrap it up there. I hope you have the basic idea of some things now that we can do with these number variables, of how we can use them as far as number types go, so integrals and floating points. And I will see you in the next video.